How to manipulate anyone.
Do you want to get ahead in life? Learn how to persuade and influence others to get what you want. The art of manipulation can be a useful tool when wielded responsibly. This guide will provide you psychological tricks to manipulate conversations and situations to your advantage. While these techniques could certainly be used unethically, the goal here is education. Understanding manipulation empowers you to protect yourself from deceit, as well as utilize it judiciously when needed. Consider it similar to learning self-defense. The skills are taught not to harm others, but to prevent harm when no other options are available. By the end of this guide, you will have potent conversational weapons in your arsenal. But with great power comes great responsibility. Use wisdom in applying these psychological tactics. The pen is mightier than the sword, so wield your new knowledge carefully. Now let's begin mastering the art of manipulation.
Manipulation trick 1. Dodging uncomfortable questions.
When someone confronts you with a tough personal question that you don't want to answer honestly, there's a simple tactic you can use to dodge it completely. As soon as they ask the uncomfortable question, flip the script and go on the offensive. Accuse them of not trusting you, scrutinizing you unfairly, or attacking you. Say something like,
I can't believe after all this time you still don't trust me.
Or,
I feel really interrogated right now. This is unacceptable.
Get angry and counter-accuse them of being paranoid, nosy, or trying to start a fight. This rapid counterattack distracts from the original question by putting them on the defensive. The more uncomfortable the original question, the more aggressively you want to deflect away from it by making counter-accusations. If they realize what you're doing and ask again, double down on deflecting by questioning their motives, loyalty, and relationship with you. Say things like,
Why are you trying to start a fight right now? I thought we were in a good place.
Or,
If you can't trust me after all this time, what kind of friendship do we really have?
The goal is to steer the conversation completely away from what you want to avoid admitting. Deflection works by distracting through heated counteroffenses.
Manipulation trick 2. Forcing agreement.
Imagine you want someone to agree to something, a favor, activity, scheme, purchase, anything. A highly effective tactic is to highlight the positives and gloss over any negatives. Make your proposal seem as appealing as possible by focusing entirely on the benefits to them. For example, if you want a friend to see a movie, pitch it as an amazing theater experience they wouldn't want to miss out on. Describe the popcorn, reclining seats, great sound system, and how it's the new action blockbuster getting rave reviews. Don't mention any downsides like the price or how far away it is. This makes your suggestion seem nearly irresistible, like an offer too good to pass up. If they seem hesitant, keep reinforcing how wonderful and fun the experience will be for them. The goal is to make whatever you're proposing sound so enticing that agreeing seems like a done deal. This tactic works by psychologically trapping the person in a cycle of concentrating solely on the upsides. People are far more likely to agree to things when you frame it as a flawless choice, too sweet to turn down.
Manipulation trick 3. Normalizing unethical behavior.
When you want to persuade someone to engage in questionable or unethical behavior, a powerful tactic is implying that.
Everyone is doing it.
Tell them the shady activity you want them to engage in is perfectly normal and commonly done. Say things like,
Lots of people do this. It's not a big deal.
or,
This is standard practice in many places.
for extra persuasion, name drop credible sources and give statistics to back up your claims, even if you're making them up. Say something like,
I was talking to Bob in legal, and he says everyone takes advantage of this gray area.
or,
Surveys show 70% of people exaggerate accomplishments on their resumes.
by making unethical behavior seem commonplace rather than an outlier, social proof kicks in. People are far more likely to cross ethical lines if they believe it's normalized and won't make them stand out. This tactic works by leveraging people's inherent herd mentality and desire to fit in.
Manipulation trick 4. Playing the victim.
When confronted about something you did wrong, flip the narrative and play the victim. Cry about how hurt you are by the accusation and say things like, I can't believe you could think I'm capable of something so awful. Make them feel guilty for assuming the worst of you. Pretend to be incredibly wounded and offended by the allegation. This will put them on the defensive, backpedaling to console you instead of pressing the issue further. The more hurt and victimized you appear, the more effectively you avoid accountability.
Manipulation trick 5. Silence treatment.
When someone upset you or you want to punish them, give them the silent treatment. Don't answer their calls, texts, or emails, and avoid them coldly in person, making it clear you are icing them out. This will communicate your displeasure and make them anxious to get back in your good graces. For maximum impact, Use silence sporadically rather than consistently. Respond briefly at times, then ignore them again. The unpredictable nature of your silence will torment them further about where they stand with you. Once they are sufficiently distraught, you maintain control to decide when and if the silence ends.
Manipulation trick 6. Obligation guilt.
When you want a favor, remind the person of everything you've done for them in the past and imply they now owe you. Say things like,
After all the times I've helped you out, you can't do this little thing for me.
make them feel guilty and obligated to repay past favors. Point out you've always been there for them, and now it's their turn. This type of calculated guilt makes it harder for them to turn you down without feeling like they are violating friendship or family duty. Framing the request as payment for previous generosity exploits the social contract of reciprocity.
Manipulation trick 7. Distracting compliments.
When someone is upset with you, disarm them with compliments. Say how much you admire and appreciate them, and point out their positive qualities. This will redirect their mindset from the negative to the positive. It's harder to remain angry with someone who is being so nice. The distraction of the unexpected praise gives you a chance to either slip away or change the subject. Just be sure the compliments come across as genuine rather than obvious flattery. A few well-timed, eloquent compliments can instantly turn a confrontation into a love fest.
Manipulation trick 8. Passive aggressiveness.
When you're angry at someone but can't confront them directly, take it out indirectly through passive aggression. Make subtle digs disguised as jokes. Forget to do something they needed, be late to meet them, or feign ignorance about something they told you. The key is to inflict inconvenience without being obviously malicious. When they call you out, insist you really did just forget and it was unintentional. This maintains plausible deniability while still allowing you to passive-aggressively punish them. Claiming it was accidental rather than spiteful lets you volley their reaction back at them for overreacting or misinterpreting. A little covert revenge without consequences.
Manipulation trick 9. Playing dumb.
When you get caught doing something you shouldn't, play dumb to avoid accountability. Pretend you have no idea what they're talking about. You didn't realize it was wrong, you forgot, or are just completely oblivious about the issue at hand. The more naive and clueless you seem, the harder it is to blame you. Act genuinely confused and keep asking things like,
What do you mean?
or,
Wait, I don't understand. Can you explain?
no matter how absurd, stick to the ignorant act. This gives you leeway to justify the behavior as unintentional and avoid harsh punishment. The key is to appear completely unaware rather than calculating.
Manipulation trick 10. Grand gestures.
When you really messed up with someone, apologize in a dramatic, over-the-top way. Show up with flowers, jewelry, their favorite treats, and a carefully rehearsed, heartfelt apology. The bigger the gesture, the harder it is to stay angry. When you make a huge public display expressing your sorrow and remorse, the other person feels pressured to forgive. After all, you're humiliating yourself with these dramatic apologies, so they must be genuine, right? In reality, it's just a technique to force reconciliation after seriously screwing up. But the more elaborate the spectacle, the more likely they'll reluctantly take you back.
Manipulation trick 11. Future faking.
When you want someone to stick with you despite bad behavior, promise change through future faking. Say you've seen the light, realize the error of your ways, and will improve. Make solemn vows to never repeat the bad behavior and become a better person. This prevents the person from leaving by giving them hope you can change. But once they're hooked back in, gradually return to your old ways. When they raise issue with it, insist you really will change. This time you just need more time to improve and overcome faults. Future faking traps people in cycles of false hope while allowing you to continue bad behaviors.
Manipulation trick 12. Emotional withholding.
When someone upsets you, punish them by withholding emotions or intimacy. Remain detached and closed off when you are together, offering only neutral responses, minimal eye contact, and no physical affection. Don't talk about your feelings, hopes, or anything vulnerable. Make your displeasure clear through emotional distance and coldness. When they try reconnecting, find excuses to maintain the distance. Keep emotions bottled up until amends have been made on your terms. Nothing communicates icy disapproval more loudly than withdrawing intimacy. It also conditions them to tiptoe carefully to avoid upsetting you.
Manipulation trick 13. Vague booking.
When you want to stir up drama or get attention, post vague booking statuses on social media hinting at trouble or trauma. Say things like,
Worst day ever.
or,
I can't trust anyone anymore.
without providing any real details. When people react, asking what's wrong, remain cryptic. Say you don't want to talk about it or it's not important. This will fuel speculation and increase engagement on your page as people dig for info. Optionally, later reveal some anticlimactic issue just to keep stringing things along. Vague booking feeds our desire for gossip and drama, even when no actual drama exists.
Manipulation trick 14 crocodile tears.
When you need to appear apologetic, turn on the waterworks. Even if you don't feel remorse, crying demonstrates regret. Shedding tears sends the message you are deeply sorry, even if it's just an act. To kick it up, sob about how disappointed you are in yourself and how you don't deserve forgiveness. The more distress you display through tears, the more pressure there is to comfort rather than punish you. Just be sure to think of something sad so the tears look authentic. While fake crying is manipulative, convincing tears can compel people to move on with limited consequences.
Manipulation trick 15 lulling.
When you want someone to let their guard down, use cycles of generosity followed by exploitation. Start by being very generous and trusting to build goodwill. Then gradually exploit that trust by taking advantage of them in smaller ways. Since you accumulated their trust first, they will make excuses for you. Then rebuild trust again through generosity. Rinse and repeat this back and forth to condition them over time to put up with more mistreatment. It's like the fable of boiling a frog warmth, then slow betrayal in increments goes unnoticed. This lulling erodes personal boundaries and enables bigger abuses.
Manipulation trick 16 masking.
Around certain people or in professional settings, observe and mimic people's body language, speech patterns, interests, and behavior to blend in. This masking causes others to feel rapport and let their guard down around someone appearing similar to them. Mirroring vocal tones and language quirks in particular establishes subconscious bonds. Masking allows you to strategically be who people want to gain their trust and influence. Done well, they will lower defenses and divulge information freely, believing they are interacting with someone just like them.
Manipulation trick 17 diminishing.
When someone calls you out for bad behavior, minimize it as no big deal to avoid consequences. Respond to their concerns dismissively and act like they're overreacting. Say things like,
I don't know why you're getting so worked up over something so minor.
or
I think you are blowing this way out of proportion.
trivialize their reaction and firmly refuse to acknowledge wrongdoing. The more dismissive you are, the more likely it'll diminish their resolve to hold you accountable. People often second-guess themselves when their feelings are ridiculed rather than validated. Refusing to take their concerns seriously pressures them to drop the matter.
Manipulation trick 18 misdirection.
When you've made a mistake, proactively admit to a lesser mistake before being confronted. This prevents discovery of the bigger issue while still giving the appearance of honesty and self-awareness. Say,
I need to apologize for being late this morning. I'll set 2 alarms from now on.
before they ask about the incorrect data you submitted. When questioned further, insist the minor issue is all that happened. Apologizing first for smaller transgressions diverts attention and provides cover for the real ones. Even if discovered later, your misdirection will cast doubt and soften the deception. A solid offense is the best defense.
Manipulation trick 19 seduction.
When you want to attract someone, identify what they crave emotionally and mirror that role. The lonely desire connection, the stressed need calming, the insecure require validation. Become whatever they lack to increase your appeal. Touch them often to release oxytocin and strengthen bonding. Whisper softly and maintain intense eye contact to create intimacy. Compliment them on qualities they pride themselves on. As you become the ideal fulfiller of their innermost needs, seduction becomes inevitable. This works even on those who see through obvious flattery and romancing. Fulfilling deeper emotional voids elicits unconscious thankfulness and desire.
Manipulation trick 20 incriminating gifts.
When you want leverage over someone, give them lavish gifts that appear suspicious. Things like expensive jewelry or electronics gifted out of nowhere create implied obligation and guilt. Later, joke you didn't really mean to give such an extravagant gift, planting paranoia. If they refuse later requests, remind them of your generosity. Ask leading questions about whether they disclosed the gift to authorities or loved ones. Hovering innuendo about the gift's origins casts doubt. The recipient will avoid involving outside parties to prevent accusations. Your generosity bought leverage while appearing innocent on the surface.
Manipulation trick 21 forced teamwork.
When you dislike someone but have to collaborate, assign them tedious tasks and insist they are equally responsible for the project. Give them the boring busy work like data entry or organization while you do the fun creative parts. If the project goes poorly, blame their shoddy portions. Say they must not have put in adequate effort. To avoid this criticism, they will overcompensate by doing the lion's share. You can then coast while appearing to pull equal weight. Foisting drudge work onto someone lays grounds to critique their commitment and contribution if needed. This concludes our guide to employing manipulation techniques for persuasion and protection. I hope these psychological tactics have enlightened you on how influence works. Use them ethically to advance your interests and guard against deceit. If you enjoyed learning about manipulation, be sure to subscribe to my upcoming channel, Entire Self, where you can request topics to expand your skill set. Understanding psychology is key to mastering your inner world and outer relationships. Knowledge is power. Remember that the whole self encompasses shadow and light. Living skillfully means integrating our darker impulses into positive action. Wield the sword of influence only when needed, and keep your moral compass aligned. Now go unleash your potential upon the world, but tread carefully with wisdom and compassion as your guides. The journey of self-mastery is lifelong. I look forward to assisting your growth and illuminating.